What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our Midday Motivations, where it is our goal to help motivate you into the rest of your day. Whether you started off bad, started off good, whatever it may be, I'm hoping this gives you a little bit of a jolt to move into the rest of your afternoon with excitement, with confidence, and with a little bit more spark than you started with the day. And so today I put a funky title up there for hopefully to be clickbait as much as possible, because I really feel like this morning I was at the gym and I was listening to some YouTube videos, and it gave me just this heart to preach this to you guys today about making failure an option. Now, I wanted to preface this because a lot of times we look at the saying is make failure is not an option. Failure is not an option, and they try and spin it off in a way that's motivational and get you to move forward and blah 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 this and that. But if you really boil it down and you look at holistically about life, I mean, it's not gonna not be an option. Like in life, whether you've lived for 15 years or lived for 50 years, you've had failures at places and times when you didn't want to failure. You've had times where you failed at what you said you were going to do. You failed at being a father. You failed at being a mom. You just failed. There's something that you didn't do well, and it happened. It just happened. And so the idea of failure not being an option is completely missing a beautiful teaching moment. Because what happens is, if we go around with the mindset, especially teaching the next generation, that failure is not an option. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Like, we're going to set them up for even more failure, to not teach them how to deal with failure when it comes. Because if you go into life, into a job, into parenting, into a relationship, as failure is not an option, then when failure does inevitably happen, you miss out on a beautiful teaching moment. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today is how to make failure an option, but don't let it be a voting member on your board. You can let it be, you're not going to strive to fail. I'm not going to say that. That's not what we want to do. But what do you do when failure does happen? Like, failure is going to be in the room. Failure is going to be in your life at some point or another. But the question here lies, what are you going to do with that failure when it does happen? So I want to talk about how to make failure an option, but don't let it be a voting member. And when I talk about being a voting member, when you have a legal board in a business and a nonprofit, there are members that are allowed to come on the board and be a part of the meeting, but they don't have the jurisdiction or the authority to cast a vote in what you're going to do. And so when you have this option, as in, okay, I'm not going to say a failure is that option in a way like, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. But what I want to talk about is how to handle failure when it comes. Because I don't want you to have a plan B, because if you have a plan B, like, you're not sold out to plan A. But I want you to help you turn a failure in plan A into an amazing plan A through learning a lesson of failure. And so the Bible is very clear. Don't grow weary in doing good. Don't grow weary in your well-doing. It says, because in time, you will reap a harvest. At due time, you're going to reap a harvest. And so when you have an amazing plan A, when you have an amazing focus on what you have for your life, a vision, a purpose, a goal, and failure happens, when something doesn't go the way that you want it to go, the Bible's very clear. If you've got a very good, well-doing, is what you're doing well-doing. If it keeps on failing, keep on pursuing and learn from each one of those failures. You know, I've been called to be a pastor since I was 16. I mean, God called me since before I was even born, but at 16 is when I found out. And over the last 14 years, it's been progressively understanding how to now fulfill this calling of pastorship, and to not really pastor over people, but pastor with people and be pastored myself. And so there's been multiple failures over the last 7 years, 7.5 now, that my wife and I have been pastoring Revive Church. We started as People of Praise, as a small little family church, and now we've grown it to a couple hundred people. And it's just been a fun journey, but there's been tons of failures along the road. My wife and I, we've been married for over 10 years. No, Jesus, I'm all messed up now. It's going to be 10 years next year. My apologies. 9. We've been together for 12, going on 13, and married for 9.5. But within the context of our marriage, there's been a lot of failure on both sides. Failure to follow through in what we've said we're going to do. Failure on meeting needs. Failure on just being there for our spouse and for each other. And so within those failures, they can't be like the end all to end all. They need to be used as a preface to learn how to grow. Because a lot of times, I'm just going to be clear with you guys, like, unless you're really good at being humble and walking, not daily, but walking continually with a mentor in your life, you're going to have failures, even if you have those mentors. You're going to have failures in relations, failure in your jobs, failures in your business, failures in your church, failures in your walk with God. But until you learn literally how to deal with those failures are not going to become platforms. They're going to become, they're going to be walls for you. And if you don't enter into failures and walk through failures with the right heart, they're literally going to take you out. And so when you make failure an option to be like, you know what? This is just inevitably going to happen. Eventually, what I'm doing, something's not going to go the way that I want it to do. And you've got to make the decision right now that when failure does eventually happen, you're not believing for it, you're not praying for failure, but I am going to learn from every failure that doesn't work. I'm going to learn from every business adventure that I lost money on. I'm going to learn from everything that I didn't do that my wife told me to do and that I should have done. I'm going to learn from every part of that. I'm going to learn from every time. I'm going to learn. If somebody walks out on me in the church, a leader, a friend, or someone in the church, I'm going to learn from that experience. So that way I don't do the same things that led to that failure. Whether it was I didn't call them enough, I didn't say the right thing, I was trying to teach them this way, they learned better the other way, whatever it may be, I need to become a student of my failures to learn what I did wrong, fix it so that way it can be better. It doesn't have to be perfect the next time around, but I can be better the next time around. And when you become a student of your failures, you'll be able to now ingest that failure and learn something. And that's a really bad analogy for a midday motivation, but you will learn how to eat the fish and spit the bones, literally. Because there are bones and failures that you've got to get out or they'll kill you. Like the emotional roller coaster of failures. Like, oh, you're down, you're out, you're hurt, you're so stupid, you're never going to get it right. Like, good Jesus. Those are the bones you've got to get out, literally. You've got to get them out. I could tell you story after story of things that I've learned that I did wrong in the first few years of ministry. I'm maybe still probably doing them. I don't even know. But it is those things that you've walked through. When you get the battle scars, you will learn from those things. Like you said, like as a child, the stove is hot. All right, I touched the stove. Ah, it burned. Oh, it's hot. Okay, let me learn from that experience so I don't touch the stove again. You have a failure in a relationship, and it happens over and over and over and over. You're getting burned by that relationship. Well, guess what? What you're doing is causing you to get burned. So stop touching the stove. So you've got to realize, what is it in what I'm doing that's causing this consistent failure? And what do I need to do to be able to stop it? Because a lot of times failure is because of either a lack of good choices or a lack of wisdom. You're doing the wrong thing, the right thing, but you're doing it the wrong way. So a lot of times, especially with me, pastoring, like I'm doing the right thing, doing what God told me to do, but I'm doing it the wrong way. Seeing people as a means to an end rather than seeing people that just needed someone to love and care for them, all right? Like seeing tasks and trying to fill people to accomplish those tasks and giving them tasks and not giving them vision. You see, I was doing the right thing. We were getting some stuff done, but I was doing it the wrong way. And so I've learned a little bit, not much. I've learned a little bit, but I've learned to learn from my failures. That no, it doesn't feel good to fail. No, it doesn't feel good when you do it the wrong way. No, it doesn't feel good to get confronted. No, it doesn't feel good when you don't feel good. But you got to learn how to process how you not feel good, process the failure, learn from what happened, and now let's move forward. I'm not stumped. I'm trying to think of what I want to say next because I could go on a little bit here. I can go on a little bit more of a tangent because I just don't want to talk about stuff that I really haven't solidified yet. So I'm going to leave the rest of what I wanted to say out. And once it's digested a little bit better, I will. I'll let you know in on that. But what I do want to just say to close this thing out is this: when failure, number one, again, the make failure an option. That was just clickbait. What I wanted to talk about is don't have the mindset of failure is not an option in such a way where you can't have failures. Like you can't have a failure. You know what? You're still going to fight the war. But if you will lose a battle a time or two, let's learn from why we lost that battle and let's fix it and let's win the next one. That's all I'm trying to get you to hear. That's all I'm trying to get you to say. If you find yourself in confrontation with your spouse all the time, maybe the confrontation and the conversation was good, but how you came about to the conversation was the bad way. And so maybe it's learning doing the right thing the wrong way is still doing it wrong. And so what am I doing is failing. And what do I need to do to make it not fail? So learning from those instead of giving up, don't just give up when you fail. Don't just give in to, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. Even if you fail over and over and over and over again this tonight. I'm going to preach to the youth and we're going to be talking about Joseph. With Joseph, how he started out as the second youngest of his father, his sons. And he was the favorite. The second is just the second youngest. It's just always the favorite. And so, me being that, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But he had to walk through some stuff. His brothers hated him. He got sold into slavery. He could have felt like a failure, but yet God promoted him from slavery to being second in command of Potiphar's house. Well, Potiphar's wife took a noticing to him, and Potiphar's wife went after him, and Joseph ran, but she falsely accused him of trying to go after her, and then he's thrown in prison. So boom, he goes from the top of the line back down into prison. And so from prison, he was still promoted to being in charge of the prison. And so he took every failure and he didn't allow that failure to take him out. He stepped up. He allowed what that failure did. Like he used that as a platform to be promoted. And so with that, maybe this failure that you're going through is a test to see where your heart's at. Are you ready for the next level? Is depending upon how you're going to handle this failure. How are you going to handle emotions that come your way when things don't go your way? So it's a question for you. So don't allow failure to be something that you look forward to. But you need to still not fall apart when failure comes. And also push yourself to handling it the proper way. And learning something from that failure so that specific failure doesn't happen again. And again, I hope this motivates you. I'm trying to speak to people who have failed because I've done it so many times. And I want to just give you some tips like being able to use that failure as a platform for future growth and wisdom. Like I'm not going to go through a failure or a storm without losing something. I'm going to be like Jacob who wrestled with God and said, I'm not leaving here until you bless me. And God blessed him for sure. He came out with a wrenched hip, but he got out with a blessing. And so every time I leave a struggle or a wrestle, it's going to teach me something. And I'm going to know more after it than I did before it. And that, my friends, is just my mentality. That is the way that you can take a licking and keep on ticking. And I wanted to teach that to you. So how you approach failure is how you're going to approach life. Push through. You can do this thing. And if you're feeling down right now, I just pray a blessing over you for God to teach you and to show you that you have more than what you need on the inside of you because of what Jesus has done for you. And when you've made him Lord of your life, you've got the Holy Spirit living on the inside of you to lead and to guide you into all truth, to teach you what you need to do, to teach you where you need to go, and to teach you how to respond in peace. So I love you guys. That's all I got for you guys today. I'm going to be beginning a series again with Stronger. We're going to be moving into the Holy Spirit this weekend. And so if you want to learn how to make failure an option and not let failure destroy you, I want you to come to church or watch church online, 9 and 11 a.m. starting this weekend for the next month. And I promise you, you'll never be the same. Love you guys. God bless and have a great rest of your day in Jesus' name. Hit the share button. Let someone know you are on. Let someone know because they need to hear this as well.